So we are just gonna start. This is a dev vlog. It's a vidlog. It has a video. It has extra content. It has my voice. Whoa. But it's mostly meant for sort of behind the scenes for development if you're interested in that sort of thing, or if you want to be a developer. Basically things that work, things that didn't work, and sort of the process behind how we got here. So I guess starting off, how did we get here? That takes us back to 2013, which is when the project started. Originally, it was going to be a Gmod Machinima series inspired by The Dark Days by Xander Darkeye, which I think now has the channel Crowbar Productions, I think, if I'm following that. But point is, things have changed. Things have very clearly gone in a strange direction for us to get here. That started back in roughly 2016, 2017, when we began the first in a series of what we called Odessa interim projects. So this was a number of experiments in different platforms and different programs to see what worked and what didn't work for the stories that we wanted to tell. So that included a podcast, that included a Twine game, and eventually that included visual novels. So by 2019, we began production of our first visual novel, which was at the time referred to as Morning Coast. Morning Coast then split into two different projects, one being Morning Coast and the other being The Journeyers. The Journeyers was complete. Almost every element of it was done. It was rough around the edges for sure, but I mean, look at these pictures. We have them saved. I have a fully playable build of this thing, which will never see the light of day. So, but yeah, needless to say, it didn't work because the general tone was just off. It was very much a slice of life, which it didn't fit the world. The tone felt inappropriate, and it was also just difficult to write in that sort of less than serious way for it. Which is not to say that you can't handle those sorts of themes within a slice of life, but within this specific one, we failed. So, put that up on the scoreboard. Yet another failure. That then brings us to Morning Coast, which Morning Coast then sort of was combined back with The Journeyers, and then together that became Splendor Misery in about 2021. So that version of Splendor Misery had a different protagonist and had a lot of features that are now in the current iteration of Splendor Misery that we just didn't include and we decided to not do, which was a mistake on our part because we really should have. Instead, we opted for a non-linear anthology. That did not work. I am recommending, if you are a developer, to not do a non-linear anthology. It is so much worse than you can imagine. But that gets us to basically now. Oh, well, we had TME along the way. So The Mirror Eater entered production around the time that S&M itself had reached a breaking point and we couldn't continue development on it anymore. TME was very rapidly produced because all the energy that would have been going to S&M just wasn't going to it. So TME was part of the reason why S&M originally died to begin with. So fun fact. But I will say for both S&M and TME, what I ended up doing for the sprites was to have no sprites, because for me, I don't like sprites. I think they break the immersion when it comes to seeing static PNGs moving around on a screen. This is absolutely just a taste thing. I know some people are like really into that. I've always just kind of not really enjoyed it. That was kind of like my biggest issue with visual novels for the longest time. So, as any normal person would, I instead settled for making CGs for every single scene. Do not do this. If you are an artist, if you are a developer, if you are in any way involved in the visual novel community, do not do what I did, because I have never had a worse time making anything than I have trying to make all these individual sprites for one scene, and they never get used again. Don't do it. Unfortunately, because I already committed to it for TME, I'm probably going to have to continue doing it for TME. For future projects, I don't know. Maybe I will finally succumb to sprites. But as it stands now, S&M does not have sprites in that way, and more closely follows the NVL format, which has issues, I'm aware, and people may not enjoy that, I'm aware, but that's where things stand. So, compromise. Because if I had to make all these sprites over again, I would simply lose it. And yeah, that brings us up to the present. So that gets us basically from 2013 to now. There's a lot more failures and experiments along the way, and a lot more things that I want to detail in depth for these vidlogs. But also, it's just going to depend on whatever people are interested in. So if you have made it this far, then, I mean, feel free to chime in, contact us, tell us the sorts of things that you are interested in hearing about from the development side of things, from the background side of things. Because we have done a lot of work on this over the last 10 years. The video footage that's playing with this is from a trip that I took to the US this summer. I had to travel all the way there from Germany. And I toured around rural communities in order to see basically the rural decay that's actively happening in a country. And did I have to go that far to do it? Probably not. But the aesthetic was just too specific to TME, which is really funny because genuinely didn't realize that it looked like those places. It was meant to look like the Mongolian steppe, so somehow that's a happy accident. But yeah, I'll probably just wrap it up here. But yeah, it's a process. Till next time.